Hello, my friends. Welcome back. I am so excited to be talking to you today. I'm so excited to chat. Listen, if you're new here, I am Kyla Ariel. You can call me Kyla. This is where all things lifestyle, becoming the best version of you, and doing so in a way that just feels most authentic to who you are, come together at one. Listen, today I am getting in your business, okay? I cannot wait to talk. I'm still trying to figure out what these conversations are called, but today we're just going to call it a pep talk. We're just coming together as two girlfriends and having a pep talk. So, got my tea and I'm ready to go. All right. So, I have a question for you. Have you noticed in your day-to-day life that things are feeling a little tense, a little uptight, kind of like the day-to-day moments are just passing you by, right? It's feeling a little bit mundane. If so, this conversation is definitely for you because we're talking about leaning into joy. Now, you might be wondering why leaning in, because the phrase leaning in is kind of played out, right? But I look at it as leaning into joy because joy is present all around us in our day-to-day. We just have to grab it. And for me specifically, this has become a very relevant topic in my life. Truthfully, I had been doing some reflection, and recently I realized that I wasn't present in my day-to-day. Things were feeling really uptight, like I mentioned before, and I just wasn't enjoying the fruitfulness of life. And I realized that it was more of an internal thing than it was external and the things around me. And so that's kind of how it all started for me. And my approach, it just felt a little off. My approach to my day-to-day life, like I mentioned before, had started feeling very rigid, very uptight. And I was like, something has to change. I know that I cannot possibly be enjoying all that, is beautiful in my life, all that is fruitful in my life. Now, you may be thinking, how dramatic is all of this, right? Not actually, because when you're constantly ruminating and thinking about the things that you want to accomplish or you want to be better at, you're not really shedding light on the positive things that are already existing in your present day, okay? And truthfully, I got tired of feeling uptight all the time, right? Shoulders tense, jaw clenched type of uptight. It just wasn't making a positive situation out of my circumstances. Listen, God has blessed me with too much to be thinking about the next best thing or to be thinking about how I can be better when I'm already best, if that makes any sense. So yeah, something had to change for your girl. And if you're feeling the same, I've got more for you. You're probably thinking, what does it mean to lean into joy? Well, number one, joy is all about perspective, right? We put so much emphasis on our current circumstances or how our current circumstances make us feel. I know you guys have probably heard the term feelings are fleeting, they don't last. A lot of therapists say feel your feelings, but don't rest in them. And I think all of that is great advice. But it's really important to understand and validate, right? Your circumstances, if difficult, that is a real thing. However, you don't have to sit in those moments. And I think what's most important about joy or leaning into joy more specifically, is being able to identify the moments that do make you happy and to basically differentiate between okay, I know this is my reality, but I'm going to be intentional about enjoying this thing because that deserves acknowledgement too. It's almost not completely resting in, I guess just not pessimism, but being open to being optimistic, right? About the joyous moments of your circumstances as well. Leaning into joy is slowing down and acknowledging the positive moments that are also taking place around you too. It's so funny because when I was first starting therapy a few years ago, I had met my fiance Cam, and I remember going into a therapy session and just unpacking all of these emotions and feelings and fear and anxiety and excitement, all of these things at once. And the best advice that she could have ever given me was just to be actively present in the moment. Just lean into what is happening in that exact moment and enjoying it for what it is, not letting yourself get too far ahead and thinking about what could happen, right? Even if it was what could happen in a good way, not even necessarily being oh, what if this doesn't work? But getting too far ahead of myself, oh, thinking about marriage and kids. It's whoa, sis, y'all are just dating. Relax, enjoy this moment. So that for me was a really big lesson for learning how to be actively present. And I think that is in direct correlation with leaning into joy, because in order for me to recognize joy in the small things that are happening, I have to be present and really like in the moment and understanding like, okay, this thing is really positive for me. Like, let me just sit in that for a moment. Because for me, leaning into joy is just sitting back and acknowledging like, hey, this thing actually did make me happy. Like, sometimes I have to remind myself, like, don't just like fly past this. Don't just not acknowledge, your excitement. Don't just acknowledge like how much you're appreciating this moment. Really sit back and be like, yeah, this really is making me happy. And another thing that I've actually started doing is like daily asking myself this question: what brought me joy today? What was it that I really just appreciated about today that I want to make note of? Because it's like almost, you almost start like this scorecard of joy, and you get in the habit of being able to recognize and acknowledge the things that are making you happy in this present moment. Is it making tea in the morning and sitting on your balcony before work? Because sometimes I just need a slow morning. Is it cooking dinner at night and enjoying a home cooked meal? Or maybe even door dashing because you don't feel like cooking and you want to catch up on shows. It's just like a really beautiful reminder that joy, yes, they can be big moments, absolutely, but there are also small moments that we can find in our day-to-day that deserve acknowledgement and recognition for bringing us joy too. So, what is stopping you from really seeking out joy in your life? That was a question. It was an honest question that I had to ask myself and really start to get a better understanding of like, what is maybe distracting you from not being able to experience joy? What is stopping you from, not being able to just slow down and say, hey, like I mentioned before, this thing is making me happy today. And so I have a few questions that I want you to reflect on and really think about as it relates to, just finding the joy in your everyday life. Have you heard of the saying 30,000 foot view? So a lot of companies will use it in reference to like maintaining a big picture perspective, not getting too caught up in the small details that we get distracted from like the bigger overall goal. And a lot of times I will think about my life from that way because there are so many small like mundane details like in our day-to-day where it's easy to get caught up in the weeds. Like it's easy. Those are the things where we let them affect us so much so that is where we're putting a lot of our emphasis in. That's where we're putting a lot of our maybe even sometimes frustration in. And I have to remind myself like, hey, keep a 30,000 foot view. Even in my prayers, sometimes I'm like, God, I need you today. We got to keep a bird's eye view because I cannot be caught up in the weeds. And so I really want you to reflect and think about, if that's something that you can change up in your approach to your day to day. Is it like, all right, today we got 3 goals that we going after. If it's not, getting me closer to that thing, I just can't worry about it today. And so that's the type of approach that I would take to basically switch up the way that I'm thinking about things and the way that I'm able to really experience joy, but also just, not getting caught up in the small things that distract us and throw us off in our everyday lives. My second question, a little bit tougher, honestly, because it's that moment of real self-reflection. Are you comparing your life to someone else's, and it in turn is affecting how you're perceiving joy in your own life? Meaning, there were a lot of things that I realized were affecting the way that I was viewing joy in my life, right? Like I hadn't hit this big milestone yet. These amazing things weren't happening in my life yet. And where was I even getting those from? That's all comparison. I'm comparing what should be going on at this very moment in my life because I'm this age or I'm entering this point in my life. There's all these things that should be happening, but because they're not, I can't enjoy life. Like, when you say it out loud, it sounds a little crazy, like it sounds a little funny, right? But the reality is that's how a lot of us view our lives. And I am just here to remind you that you are in control of joy in your life. You just have to go and grab it. It's all about perspective, and it's all about whether or not you view your current situation as worthy of experiencing joy, which honestly brings me to my last question. Do you feel worthy of experiencing joy? And it's okay if you really don't have an answer, because I think sometimes the lingering underthought, the root of it, is that sometimes we don't feel worthy. Sometimes we don't feel like we deserve to experience good things. And sometimes we put too much pressure on ourselves because we want them to come packaged a certain way. We want joy in our lives to look like going on an island vacation, being in a tube with like a margarita in hand. But that's not always the case. That's not always, how we find joy in our lives. And I think it's so important to understand how to lean into joy in our day-to-day lives, because that is what success looks like to me. When I think about success in my life, it's being able to tap into joy at any given moment. It's being able to be in the middle of a hard situation and I feel like I don't know how I'm gonna get out of this. I feel like this is never ending. I feel like I just want to go to sleep and wake up tomorrow and try again. And sometimes that's okay, but sometimes we really have to be able to switch perspectives in that moment, understand that joy is accessible. We can grab it, we can take it. It's ours to take, and in making the decision to do so. And so I hope that this conversation, this pep talk was helpful for you. Listen, I believe in joy for all of our lives. I believe in a positive approach to our day-to-day. I believe in that for all of us. Okay. Like I said before, this is the place where lifestyle, becoming the best version of you, and doing so in an authentic way come together. That means becoming the best version of you is being able to tap into the parts of you that maybe you didn't know you could tap into before. It's being able to, to tell that small voice in your mind, like, stop. I'm good. I got this today, because I know how to tap into joy. I know how to access those parts of me that maybe, I didn't a few years ago. I didn't necessarily have the tools, but we're all about growing over here. We're all about shifting our mindsets, and we're in this together. Like I've told you many, many times before. So I appreciate you for tuning in. I appreciate you for watching. If you feel like this conversation is not only relevant to you, but maybe a friend of yours, maybe someone that a loved one that you're close to might be experiencing, tough times. Maybe they need some mindset shifts. Maybe they need a pep talk from your girl. Please do not hesitate to share. Listen, don't forget to subscribe. I don't want you to miss any content. We got some great content coming, y'all. It's the close of the year and I'm coming with it. I'm letting you know that this is a consistent thing. Our relationship is consistent. It's not going anywhere, but I can't wait until next time. I can't wait to talk more. Yes. Comment, like, share, subscribe, all the good things. And we'll talk soon. Bye, y'all. Hey y'all. Oh, hey y'all. I'm in your business. Oh, let me get this. Oh, am I recording? I am. Oh, shoot. Okay. I just meant to turn the camera back on.